welcome back to another video. Today I thought we would cover lift anxiety. So years ago when I was making my trigger list, lift anxiety was one of the things on there. But it wasn't really very high up. However, I did learn various things that helped me to overcome that trigger that hopefully can help you too. Because I think lifts can be kind of scary anyway. I know that they're often used in horror films and that kind of thing. So I thought I'd share what I've learned with you guys and hopefully you'll find it helpful. So the first thing I would do is make a list of different places you can go. So ideally you want somewhere that has a few lifts. So like a shopping centre, right? Because there's plenty of shops to choose from, and usually in each shop there will be a lift if there's like 2 floors, obviously, because of accessibility. So by having various lifts, it kind of eases that pressure of other people watching you and judging you. Because that's the other issue with anxiety, right? Is that you worry about people's judgments. And now, if you're somebody that goes into a shop and you keep going up and down in a lift, people might find it odd. People might start to notice. You may get some funny looks. A member of staff might even question you. So it's just best to kind of avoid those problems by just using different lifts, right? So you want to make a plan of going to a shopping centre on a day and then planning to go to, let's say, 10 shops, right, that have lifts in them, just to be clear. So what you would want to do is, let's say you start on the ground floor, you'd want to go into the lift, go up, go out, have a little look around, go back in the lift, go back down, and then look around, right? That's totally not like suspicious behaviour, it's just normal, and it's a great way to test it twice in one shop. So if you go to 10 shops in the day, that will be 20 times you will have gone in a lift and had the chance to test it out. So once you kind of have an idea of where you want to go, you want to find who you want to go with. Because if you go by yourself, it can be quite daunting, it can be quite scary, and anyway, with any anxiety, it's important to have a good support network, right? Because you need somebody that will be there to reassure you, to encourage you, to motivate you, and to be a calming influence. Because you might go into the lift and it might suddenly feel way too overwhelming, but actually your friend or your family member will be able to say, actually, it's okay, breathe, you can follow their breathing, and before you know it, you'll hopefully be out of the lift. So you want to go with somebody that you can count on. You want to go with somebody that also has really calming energy, because if they are stressy or if they're excitable, that can really impact you, and that can also make the situation worse. Even though they're trying their best to help, right? It's not just about being helpful, it's also about being a calming influence. So when you find those 2 things, then it's a case of practicing. So you want to go on a nice day, you want to plan which shops you're going to go into, and I think to start with, most shopping centres anyway, they only have like 2 floors, maybe 3, but just go up 1 floor and go back down and start somewhere quiet. So a bookshop, for example, they're usually quite quiet, and there's like a good chance that the lifts will be empty. You don't want to put the pressure of being around other people and feeling anxious. It depends again why lifts trigger anxiety for you, but for this instance we'll just say it's easier to have less people to start with. So you want to go somewhere quiet, and that's where you want to start, and then slowly go to busier shops, and then maybe the 10th lift that you go into, that will be the main lift in a shopping centre, and they're usually busy. There will usually at least be one other person in there. It's usually prams and children and those kind of things, right? So that's the one that you'd want to end with and leave it on a high, right? The other thing to remember though is if you're really struggling with the first lift that you're having a go at, don't continue pushing yourself to busier lifts. Keep then trying to go into quieter ones. So let's say you're having a bad day. You go into the first lift and it's empty and you really struggle. Then you get out, take a breather, go to another shop that's quiet, try it there. If you feel the same, maybe then go back to the first one, go there once more and call it a day. You don't need to push yourself on a day that isn't going too well. But the point is you keep trying and then say, okay, next week, go to shopping centre, we'll try again. So that's kind of the gist of lifts and being trapped with people. But a lot of people might struggle with lifts because of claustrophobia. Now that's a whole other subject. But if that's the kind of thing, then you might consider testing yourself in smaller, confined spaces that there isn't a risk of things going wrong. Just to start with, just to get yourself kind of used to being in a small space. For example, like the little public loos, like the portaloos, they're not the nicest, but they're small and there's no electrical stuff there, it's a manual lock. You just want to go in there and that's the place you want to test out because it's small, you can find, but you know you can get out. So then you just stay there for like, I don't know, a minute and then you get out. Then when you actually get to trying a lift, you could try just walking into a lift and then straight back out. And just keep doing that a few times until you feel totally comfortable actually being in a lift. Once you've got that, then you also want to have a look at the cognitive side. So you want to think, why am I anxious about the lift? Like, what am I afraid of happening? Is it being trapped with people? Is it being trapped on my own? Is it that nobody will come to our rescue? Is it that we'll be really thirsty? That I'll be really hungry? That's the kind of thing you want to address because there are solutions. If it's about being with people, you'll still be with your friend, you'll start that. It might be worth having a bottle of water with you. If you're worried about having a panic attack, if the lift were to break down, then you want to prepare yourself with meditation, breathing exercises, that kind of thing that can help you calm down in the moment. That's what's really important. Because once you have those tools, you say, okay, it might be really unpleasant, but I know how I'm going to deal with it. So that's a really helpful thing, and it takes time to practice, but if you practice that before you go in the lift, that means the lift itself will be easier, and actually you're less likely to be anxious if you have the tools to be able to cope with the anxiety, right? Because it won't be such a scary thing. Reassure yourself with the fact there is an emergency call button. Make sure you got your phone on you, make sure your phone's charged, make sure you got some snacks with you. Those little safety behaviours might not be ideal, but actually they'll be really helpful just to start getting you to a mental place where you're okay with it. And actually, even if you keep those behaviours forever, what's the problem having a bottle of water with you? What's the problem of having some snacks with you, right? There's no problem with it. Do what works for you. Take it easy. Lifts are a common thing to not really be comfortable with. It takes practice, but actually, even if you don't want to use a lift ever, which is fine, it's still nice to be able to know you can. Because, you know, ages ago, I never used lifts. It was never something, that's why it wasn't really a big trigger for me. For me, it was really more that kind of agoraphobia, being stuck, and then being stuck with people was also like a major thing. So that was something I wanted to overcome, and I did overcome it. And then the one day, I can't remember why I had to use a lift, but I did have to use a lift. And in that moment, I was like, I'm completely fine. No, I remember when I had to use a lift. It's because there was a massive tower in Belgrade, and I really wanted to visit it while I was there. And you have to go in a lift. And I didn't even give it a second thought. And I I was like, this is incredible. I haven't missed an opportunity because I managed to sort myself out and not be really anxious in a lift. So it's definitely worth going over and conquering, because you never know when it'll come in handy. Anyway, hopefully you found this helpful. Leave a thumbs up if you did. Let me know in the comments if you've ever suffered with lift anxiety or any other advice that you'd give to others who do. And don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.